Good morning, students. So in this presentation I shall be discussing about the in, between and the distinct operator that shall be used in conjunction with the select statement. So let's start with the distinct operator. The distinct operator returns a unique set of records from a table. Now if we consider this particular table identified by the name purchase, we have a question. The question is asking us to list the IDs of all devices. Now here ID is represented by the column named DID in this purchase table. So listing the IDs means to list the entries of this DID column. So for that I have to write the select statement as select DID from the table purchase, because the name of this table is purchase. And once we execute this query, we get to see this output. The entries of this column named DID have been fetched into this output table. But the important thing to be noted out here is that if you look at these entries for the column DID, you can see that the entry D30 has been displayed thrice. So there are triplicate and duplicate values for this entry D30. When there are repeated entries, the entries are not distinct. We can eliminate repeated entries like this one with the help of this distinct operator. Now if you use the word distinct just in front of the column named DID and then execute this query, you will see that instead of these repeated entries of D30, you get to see only a single entry of D30. This is because the keyword distinct eliminates the duplicate entries. It eliminates the repeated entries. As a result, this query select distinct DID from the table purchase retrieves the distinct entries for this column named DID into the output table. So instead of 3 entries of D30 for this column named DID, only 1 entry of D30 has been taken and it is fetched into this output table. As a result, now this output table has distinct entries or unique entries. The next type of operator that I shall be discussing now is the in operator. Now the in is a set operator and this is used in place of the OR operator. The in is a set operator which can be used as an alternative to multiple ORs. Sometimes in an SQL statement you may require to use multiple OR statements. So instead of using multiple OR statements, you can also make use of this in operator, which is a type of a set operator. Note that the reverse of the in operator is also known as not in. Now let's consider this particular table identified by the name student. Based on this table, I have a question. The question is asking us to print the name and city of students. Now name is represented by this column as name and city is represented by this column as city. Now it is asking us to display the name and city of students who live in Durgapur or Bangalore. That means the city of the student should belong to either Durgapur or Bangalore. So I can write the query as select sname, scity from the table student. Now for the condition where the city should be either Durgapur or Bangalore, I can write the where clause like this, where scity in, I am making the use of the in operator, okay, where scity in, I put these elements Durgapur and Bangalore separated by comma. This shows I am going to display the name and city of those students who resides in either Durgapur or Bangalore. That's why SCT in either Durgapur or Bangalore, represented as Durgapur, Bangalore. Now let's find out the students who resides in either Bangalore or Durgapur. There are two students. First one is Arpita. She resides in Bangalore. So the first entry in the output table belongs to the student Arpita. Then we have the student Astik. He resides in Durgapur. So the second entry in the output table belongs to Astik, who resides in Durgapur. Then let's come to the next type of operator, known as the between operator. Now see this point, between is a range operator, and this operator is used to filter the records which falls between a given range. Now consider this table as an example. The name of this table is device. It has got 4 columns, namely DID, DNAME, DCost and DProfit, and all these are the entries of the respective columns. Now note the value null, the first entry for the DProfit column. Okay, the null here indicates that the value is missing for this DProfit column. So the record where the device name or DNAME is RAM has missing values for this DProfit column. That's why it is represented as null. Always keep this in mind. Missing values in a field are represented as null. So in this particular field, as the value is missing, so it is represented as null. Now again, based on this table name device, there is a question. It says write a query to print the name and cost of devices where the cost of device is between 50 and 750. Now see the first part of the question. It says write a query to print the name and cost of devices. Name is represented by the column DNAME and cost of devices is represented by the column DCost. That's why I'm selecting DNAME, DCost from the table device. Now see the condition. The condition will be specified by the second part of the question. It says where cost of device is between 50 and 750. So I'm going to set the condition in the where clause like this, where since the cost of device is represented by the DCost column, so I'm going to write where DCost between 50 and 750. So now I'm going to select the entries for these two columns, DNAME and DCost, where the DCost value should be between 50 and 750. Now look at the first one. For DNAME as RAM, the DCost value is 850. Now clearly 850 exceeds the n limit, which is 750. So we have to discard this entry. Then check for DVD. Okay, then check for DNAME as DVD. Its DCost value is 30. Clearly the DCost value is 30, is below the starting limit, which is 50. So even this particular device, that is DVD, along with its DCost value 30 is discarded. So the records pertaining to RAM and DVD are discarded. Now we are left with only one device named as pen drive. Let's check its DCost value. For the device named as pen drive, its DCost value is 400.00. Now if you see this range, the range is between 50 and 750. Now clearly the DCost value 400 falls between this range 50 and 750. Since it falls in the given range, the record pertaining to the device name pen drive has been fetched and displayed in the output table. As a result, in this output table we only have one particular record that is pertaining to the device named as pen drive. So with this I end my presentation here today.